In this video, we're going to be looking at deploying apps on Google Cloud. We're going to learn how to create a virtual machine or VM on Google Cloud. Now, that's not really the best, most current technology we could, or the hot technology we could use. We could be using things like Docker containers or even a Google App Engine, but a solid knowledge in how to work with virtual machines is pretty much essential before we can kind of do those other technologies. So we'll look at that. And then we'll learn how to SSH into the machine. That's actually very trivial with Google Cloud. And how to install some software we need. We won't install all the software we need, but we'll learn how to do it so that when you need to install additional software later on and as the semester progresses, you'll be able to. We'll look how to connect our Gitlab repository to Google Cloud so we can pull all that stuff we have in Gitlab and run a little Flask application. And then we'll look at ways of running that application on Google Cloud. We can do it the straightforward way that we were using in our development environment, or if we're actually trying to deploy this into a working system, there are a few smarter ways of doing it. So we'll kind of look at those options as well. So let's get started. So the first place to go is cloud.google.com. And I'm assuming you already have an account. I think I gave you a link earlier, even before the semester started, to do that. So here we go. So there we are. We can go to our console. And I already have some projects up and running here. But I'm going to create a new one. So that's up here in Create Project. So all these virtual machines and other services that Google provides run under a specific project. Like it's kind of a billable thing we're doing here. And we can name it anything we like. And this is where I always stumble in trying to think of something creative. But let's say I want to create, I don't know. Here's my exciting one, CS 350Z. I don't know. You'll come up with more creative ones than that, I'm sure. And this takes a little bit of time. All right, and there we are. So what we could do now is create. What we want to do is create what they call a compute engine, really a virtual machine, and we can do that by going up here, this 3-bar menu item, and select Compute Engine. But instead of doing that for the first time, it's a really good idea to do that when you're building other ones. But let's get kind of a little bit of help by saying try Compute Engine. And it says we can do it in 15 minutes. And it's a little helpful hint here of how to do things. So yes, I do want to do that. Start by navigating to the Compute Engine section. I think I bollocks that up by probably doing that. So that's here, Compute Engine. It says wait for Compute Engine initialization. Okay, and finally it's ready, and we can now create a virtual machine. So I'm going to say create instance here. It gives us a lot of information here we can read, and especially do that when you're getting started. I can name it anything I want. Instance 1, sure, why not? I'm not creative. The zone is somewhat important. We don't want to run things in Asia and Europe. That would just slow us down. So I'm going to choose US East. And the higher, or I don't know what to call it, the higher alphabetical the letter is afterwards, has newer machines. So I'm selecting US East 1D, so that should be better machines than US East 1B. And here's where we say what kind of machine we want. So this current one is $25.95 per month. And we don't really need anything quite that elaborate. This one's $5 a month or less, $4.50 a month. And as you can see, it has a 0.6 gig of memory and really a pretty tiny virtual CPU, but it's enough for almost all of the class. Later on, when we work with Cassandra and some other technologies, you'll want a bigger machine, but for most of the class, we can go with this $4.49 per month option. The boot disk here, we can select what operating system we want, so let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, we can choose Red Hat. We can do Windows if we want, but I'm going to go with Ubuntu Yakety Yak version here, this Ubuntu 6.10. And I want the disk to be 10 gigs. Again, that's probably going to be, that'll be plenty for almost all the course. The final thing is, yes, since it's going to be a HTTP server, I want to allow these bits of traffic. And you can see I've kind of followed along what it said here on the right, and I'm going to say create. And it says, kind of check this out, and you can see what's happening here. It gives you all sorts of information. I'm just going to click continue. And then it says when it's complete, click the SSH button. Yeah, I'll just finish off that part of the tutorial. There's a little bit more. And this takes a little bit of time, not a lot. There, it's up and running. And now I can connect to it with SSH. If I click here, I can say open that terminal window in a browser window. This also takes a little bit of time. I want to connect here. All right, and for those who like to fiddle around, you can decide on change it to a dark theme if that's your preference, or I think that's the default one. You can change it to light. You can change the font size. I think I have it as medium, just so it's readable for more people when I'm doing these videos. But so there's various options there. Let me just select something because it's not responding too well. Oop. All right. And here they give a little example of how to get a simple server going and just checking that it works. This little part here on the right only appears kind of the first time you are using this SSH. And normally you just get a very large SSH window, but this is part of that tutorial. So I echoed something into index.html. So if I take a look at index.html, it says hello world. Maybe I should have written something more creative. And here I'm going to start a simple Python web server. Again, we're not going to be using this for the most part of the class, but it's just the illustration that things are up and running. So it says it's serving HTTP on that port, and now I can go to, they have a link here of what my IP address is. And sure enough, it says hello world. So that's kind of cool. We have things connected, and anyone now can go to our site and see hello world. Not that exciting, but exciting enough. It's kind of fun. Let me get back here in the gear. So I hit Control C there to get out of that. Okay, so let's see what else we can do. Well, one thing we might want to do is install some software we'll need later on in the class. One thing we'll need is the Postgres server. And let me go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to sudo apt-get. Let me just I don't know if I really need this step, but it's always good to kind of do an update of the libraries, or the index of the libraries, I guess, or the package list, I guess is what they're called. All right, so now I'm going to install sudo apt-get. Oops, I can't spell. So again, we don't need this for the initial weeks, but pretty soon when we start looking at Postgres, you will, so we might as well do that now. All right, so that's kind of the how you install stuff. It's just sudo apt-get install. So if you find something that's not present, you just do sudo apt-get install and whatever you want to install. All right, again, I'm not going to go into Postgres in detail. That's covered in another video, but I do want to just, it's kind of a start to it, just change the main password of Postgres. So let me do that. Okay, and the administrator user of Postgres is called, the username is Postgres. That's what I'm just logged in as. Now I'm going to change the password. So I'm going to type password, \password. And now I'm going to give my super secret administrative password. And that's all I really wanted to do. I'm going to quit out of Postgres. So this gets me kind of set up nicely for the other videos. So we've installed Postgres. Now we don't have Flask installed, and that's what we're using. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me see if I have easy install here. Oops, sorry, Okay, I only have easy install 3, so I'm going to go ahead and install easy install, and that command is sudo as apt-get. You can kind of guess what I'm installing here, and I'm going to install Python setup tools. So sudo apt-get install Python setup tools. Okay, and that was great, and now I can do that easy install. Well, I should do it sudo. And I'm going to install Flask, which is one thing we need, and Markdown. Not spelling it right. Sweet. Okay, now we're doing pretty well. We need to, let's see. So let me show you how to connect to your GitLab account so you can download some code. And so let's go, let me just move this off to the side a bit, and let me go to GitLab. I think I'm still logged in there, hopefully. Okay, and I think it was CS50 test here, if I'm right. And if you remember, we needed to get some SSH keys going because it's a private repository. If we made it public, we wouldn't, and if the idea was just we needed to clone the stuff, we wouldn't need to do this step. But since everything's private, we need to say we're a member by having some SSH keys. So if you remember how to do that, we would go here and we say profile settings. And then we select SSH keys, and we're going to add an SSH key here, one related to this virtual machine we made in Google. And if we didn't know how to do it, we click generate, and it says we do this SSH key gen here. I think I'll name it something else other than Ron.Zaharsky, but it's good. Oops, I'm not in that spot, I'm here. And I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to change this to some other thing I want. I don't know, Ron. I'll go _Zaharsky. I think that's what I am in that virtual machine. And I'm going to click that main one. And I like some password. You don't need to, it says. Okay. And if you remember, that information is in this SSH directory, and if I tab a little bit, it's that IDRSA, the public one. I'm not going to show you the other one. So I take that bit, maybe. Looks great. I copy it. I go here. I back up. Don't paste the private. All right. And that looks good. I'm going to name it something like my Google Cloud, because I already had one called Google Cloud. Oop. Oh, yes, I've had this problem. Sorry. It's the cut and pasting error I have. So let me show you how I fixed that in the past here. So I have my Sublime open. Sorry for this diversion here, but maybe it's a useful thing. What happens is when I did that cut, it put in a bunch of new lines here, which I don't want. So maybe you have a technique that's better than mine, but here's what I do. So I'm going to replace those new lines. So it's backslash, I already have it here because I've done it recently, /n, so that's a new line, and I'm going to replace it with absolutely nothing. So it finds a bunch of them, and I'm going to do that replace all. So there, now it's all on one line, if that made sense. So I'm just removing the returns at the end of every line, in other words. You could do it manually. Maybe that's easier for you than what I just showed you. It doesn't matter. All right. So let me try this again. And also I think that SSH thing shouldn't, no, that was right. All right, so I think I did it fine that time. All right, so it looks like I have that now. All right, sweet. So let me, I don't know what I should do. Maybe just back up here in the back arrow. That seems like maybe a waste of time, but I'll do it anyway. All right, so here I am back to the thing I actually want to clone, and I'm going to copy that repository address sort of in my clipboard. Come here. I'm going to get my cursor, and I'm going to do git clone, and then I'm going to paste that in. It's my dog's barking in a distance there. Okay, and you see now I have that repository CS350 test. Oop, I didn't change directory into it. Okay, now here we are, we're all set, it's phenomenal. And now there's a number of ways we can run this program. And let me show you them in progression of difficulty, I guess is the word. And the hardest doesn't require any change to server PY. But unfortunately, the easy method seems counterintuitive, so maybe it isn't that easy. The easiest one does require a change to server PY. So as much as I don't like Vim, I'm going to use it here and edit server PY. And what I'm going to do here is, I don't like a lot of this junk actually. So I'm gonna do more editing than I said. So really, what I want to do is I want the host to be 000 instead of that OS business. I don't need that. Okay, that looks good. And the port's going to also be something simple instead of that complex junk. And I'm going to make the port 80. That's the main change I need to make. So that looks good to me. Let me just check. So I'm pretty sure that'll work fine. And let me go ahead and save that. All right, and now I should be able to do sudo python. Have my fingers crossed here. Well, and hopefully it's running. So I think that was here that said hello world. Let me try to refresh this here. And sure enough, so I have it running now on Google. And I'm hoping you think, hey, that's pretty painless. That wasn't a problem whatsoever. So this is good just for testing. But let's see if we can do something a little bit more interesting here. Oops, I didn't want that for some reason. I wanted back to here. And let me just stop that with the Control-C, and that looks good. All right, the other thing we can do is install something. Let me just actually install it first. Gunicorn. Maybe it'll say how to install Gunicorn. Oh, it didn't. All right, I think I need to do sudo easy install. Let me see if I can do this. I might have to look it up. All right, let's say it actually worked. And now I can, this Gunicorn, what it does is spin up a number of instances of, or it has the potential for spinning up a number of instances of our app running. So in a real life situation, instead of, as we get more and more users, if we were just running one instance of our app, it would bog down. But here is a way of kind of spinning up more automatically. And let me just do that. Sudo Gunic. I have no hopes of this actually working, but so here I'm saying spin up 2 workers. That W stands for workers. And here's where I could have had that original file, because I'm going to specify what port I want to run it on. I want to run it on port 80. And the file is server. And the app inside there is called app. So if you looked, I don't have that editor open, but you would see that it's app. I can show you that in a second. Okay, and it seems like I have a bunch of workers working here to serve my app. And let me see if it still works. Yes, and it still works. So here I have a number of 2 instances of my app running. And it's still pretty seamless. So if you were doing it for an actual service that people are using, it's unlikely that you'd use just Python in the name of the file. It'd be much better to use this Gunicorn. I'm not going to go into much detail about it. It's a really fascinating subject, and you can just Google it and find information on it. All right, so let me stop that. And that was a Control-C again. Now we get to something slightly more, just slightly more complex, and we're going to make sure our program runs automatically every time our machine starts, so every time our virtual machine is turned on, or if there's a problem and it needs to restart, our program, our server file, that server py file, will run automatically. All right, so let's see, and let me just actually back up a second to show you that Gunicorn thing I intended to do. So if we look at server py here, you'll see where, see I say app equals Flask name there, right here, this line, as I can't highlight it too well. And you see that Gunicorn command I used right here, so server, that was the name of the file, minus the .py, and this app refers to app equals Flask name, this thing. If I had it called something else, by convention it's called app, but you could name it whatever you want, and then it would change here as well. But I don't want to do that, so let me back up off that. So that's the level of complexity. Now there's that final one which I just mentioned, and for that we need to install yet another thing, and it's called Supervisor. Now there's a number of ones you can use. You don't need to use Supervisor, but it's a fairly easy one to use, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So now that I've installed it, this is a program that is running all the time. So if I go sudo service supervisor D, I think, status. Whoop, what's happened here? It's just called supervisor, sorry. Okay, so it is. Sorry, I had the name wrong. So you can see that it's kind of running, it's still running and working fine. All right. And what this supervisor does is we give it a small configuration file that tells supervisor what we want to run, and it'll make sure that it's always running. So that's kind of cool. We don't have to kind of maintain and check whether it's running or not. And for that, we need a little configuration file that we need to write. So let's go ahead and do that. Should I do it on Vim? Well, no, let's not do it on Vim. Let's see if I can do it here on my Mac to start with, because heck, I'm much better in Sublime than I am in Vim. All right, let me give that a shot. And who knows how many errors we'll create here. So I give it the name of a program, and I don't know what to call it. Uni app for Unicorn. Yeah, let's just stick with you. I don't know. I'm not creative, as I said, so I don't care. Command equals user local. This is bin Gunicorn B. That's the where we're running it, and I want it on 80. And then here's the name. It's, as you'll see, it's the same. It's server app. Is that what I called it? Yeah, I called it app. So you can. This is the same as what we were just doing. Sweet. All right, and so auto start. Make sure it starts all the time. And auto restart is true. So those seem pretty easy. Oh, and here's where I need to, so my directory is, I'm not sure, so no, not there. Go back here and just say pwd for print working directory. So it's home, Ron Zaharsky. So I'm just going to copy that. And what else do I need? I need standard error. So I'm just giving it the name of a log file, and so instead of seeing things printed out in the terminal, it's going to put those into a file. And I'll call it uni error .log, because uni comes from my uni app. Okay, and standard out. Oh. Okay, I think all that's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and save it somewhere. So save it, I don't know, I'll put it on my desktop and I'll call it my uni conf. And there it is sitting on my desktop. All right, so I've never tried this method. I just noticed it today, so I'm giving it a shot. I'll tell you what I mean by what this method is. But I just noticed that here, there's an upload file, and I'm kind of tempted to try it. So let's see if this actually works. So I'm going to go to my desktop here. It seems like it must work. And I can't. There's desktop. And there's my uniconf. Wow, that's pretty slick. All right, let me see if it's there. Oh, shoot. And I don't see it there. All right, let me back up a little and see if it's there. There it is, uniconf. And let me just cat it. Command, program, uniapp, command equals user, local bin, good. Yeah, that looks good. Start true. All right, so that's sweet. All right, I actually don't need it there. I want it somewhere else, but it was a good place to put it temporarily. All right, and I'm going to keep that there just in case I want to modify it later. Or I don't know, maybe I don't need it, but we have to copy it to the right place here. And that's etc. Supervisor conf d. Oops, I didn't say what to copy. uni.conf. So the configuration file I'm putting where a supervisor can restart. Oh, shoot. I don't have permission to do that. So the way around that, of course, is to go sudo. All right, sweet. That's working. And now I'm going to do sudo supervisor ctl reread. So that's going to just check everything in that directory and see if there's new stuff. And there's that unit app available. And now I want to do update. All right, and now if everything worked right, which I always wonder if it will work right, I should have it working here at this 104.219. And if not, I'll do a quick little edit and fix the error so it'll be kind of seamless. And I'll be darned, it actually worked at the first time. So it's working now. And now whenever the machine goes down, it still will automatically restart. So that's really a kind of a big thing. And it's, again, running a number of workers. I can specify more. So multiple people, a lot of people can be accessing the site, and it'll scale pretty nicely. I can do things. So if I, let's say I edit that file. Again, this is for production. When you're developing, you should be on your developer platform, whether it's Cloud9 or whatever. When you're done, you're putting it here. But let's say there's a case where you actually do need to make an edit here. You can do sudo supervisor ctl. I think this is the command restart, and then the name of the file we did, which mine was called was it called uniapp? Wait, I'll find it here. Uniapp, yeah. And so that'll, if I made a change to one of those files, it'll update it. So that's it. I think I gave you a pretty good introduction, really, for how everything works. I can and I can get rid of that. Of course, I can go sudo. Let's say I don't want that app around to be running anymore. CTL stop uni app. And I can also, and if I wanted to really get rid of it, I would just delete it from that where I have it. Remove, etc. Supervisor conf d, and then it was called unit. So if I delete that, oh shoot, sorry, my error. That's protected, and I highlighted the trash. That's good. So there, it's deleted. So if I rerun that supervisor, it won't start that file automatically. So it's really cool stuff. I mean, this is good stuff to know for you to be a developer. It's a lot to learn in the first few weeks of a course, but I'm hoping it'll help you later on. Have a good time playing with all this stuff. See you next time. Sorry for all the dog barking. Okay, I just wanted to talk a few minutes about domain names. So we have the site here, UMWRC Club, or more imagine that it's the site you're using for this class for this semester, and anyone can go to it with this 104.196.194.215 IP address. But wouldn't it be cool if instead of that it was like something like umwrcclub.com or whatever I'm not that creative, but whatever you can think of up here for the whole semester. That'd be kind of a more fun thing to do. And that's fairly cheap to do. Hover is the one, a site I use, but it's not the cheapest. You can shop around a bit and get maybe $1 or $2 off. We can check if a domain's available. Like I think we had UMWRC Club, and let's call it .org here. And we can buy that for $13.99 a month. It's still loading here. Maybe there, and there's other ones available. We can get umwrcclub.com for $12.99. We can get all these .mom if we want that. It's a little bit more, and so on. So we can check if something's available and buy it. The site I've been waiting for the price to go down is a site my teacher had, clearmindzen.org. And he gave this one up, but you can see now it's kind of pricey. It's a premium domain, $285. So someone owns it and is trying to make money off it. Once you get it, you can see that the annual renewal is cheap. So it's, you can just kind of search around and find something open. So let me show you how that would work. How can we tie this 104.196.194.215? That's the thing Google gave us, that IP address, and it's going to be our IP address if we keep that $5 a month instance going. So how can we tie that to a domain name? All right, so let me see if I can get to my domains. Here I have some of my domains. Zarski.org, we know about. These others some are active, some are not active. This guide to data mining is active, but not guide to datascience.com. And I know this one's not active, Buddhist practitioner. Let's tie that for some bizarre reason to this UMWRC club. And let me just get this IP address here. Let me just copy it. All right, so I'm going to tie, I said Buddhist practitioner to that. And that would be in this DNS rank. And I see I already have some entries here, but I'm going to edit those. Sorry, I'll figure it out. Okay, and instead we want that, but let me get rid of the dots and stuff. That looks good, and I need another one here, I guess. It's an A record. So this is if someone types www.buddhistpractitioner.org versus someone typing buddhistpractitioner.org. So if they type www that, then I want them to go to that same IP address. And okay, that looks good to me. All right, let's see if that does anything. It sometimes takes a while. They claim it takes a while, but sometimes it's more practice. Oh, I think it's org. And there you see it was really pretty straightforward, and it takes me it would take you less than 5 minutes to do this, and less than, $12 at the most. Maybe you could probably find domains for $8. There was some on special at that site I just showed you for about $5. So it's really pretty straightforward. So now instead of typing this address, you can say, hey, you wouldn't say go to Buddhist Practitioner, but whatever your cool site is, mercelabs.com, something developer.com, whatever you can creatively come up with. So that's the quick bonus. Hope you found some use out of it. Take care. Bye.